Coming up on WFT's Midday, Francine lashes Louisiana. We have the latest numbers on power outages and flooding impacts. And beefing up security, Congress is laying out its plan to stay safe when they certify the election in January. And squashing school shooting threats, how local law enforcement is cracking down on this dangerous online trend.
You're watching WUFT Midday.
Nearly 500,000 people are without power between Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as Hurricane Francine continues to dump inches of rain throughout those states. This is a live look at ominous skies over and the remnants of the Francine impacting the beaches of Mobile, Alabama. Francine hit as a Category 2 hurricane Wednesday evening in southern Louisiana. This is WFT Midday. I'm Tanya Fedak. Right now, 14 million people are under a flood watch as the storm moves through the state. And as Ivan Rodriguez reports, this is the first hurricane to hit the state since 2021.
Francine is now a tropical depression. Here in Morgan City, a lot of the focus will turn now to damage. Behind me is the front yard of a home. You can see a tree that is snapped here in front of it, crossing over into the sidewalk. This is an image that we're seeing around town with also down power lines and also signs in the middle of streets. After making landfall Wednesday in southern Louisiana as a Category 2 hurricane, Francine is weakening and continuing to push inland, but the Pelican State is already soaked. Torrential downpours sending floodwaters down roads in several parishes.
I'm just trying to get to work. I'm sure plenty of other people are trying to get to work too, and it just takes a while for this water to get out of here.
Some homes flooded.
We even had our protective dam up. We even had the sandbags up.
And all of a sudden we saw water starting to come in from all different areas of the house.
New Orleans seeing more than a month of rainfall from Francine. The storm leaving widespread power outages in its wake.
People inside right now, let the linemen and all do their jobs.
Tropical storm warnings remaining Thursday for millions across several states. Louisiana's governor calling for residents to be smart and stay safe as flooding, heavy winds, and storm surge levels up to 8 feet are still significant threats.
I want to remind all of the citizens that now is the time that we're going to stay off of the roadways, stay home, and stay put. We've already seen people coming out, inspecting the damage to their homes, beginning to clear some of that debris out. Across the state of Louisiana, more than 390,000 people remain without power. That will also be a big focus today, power restoration. In Morgan City, Louisiana, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Former President Trump and Vice President Harris continue forward on their campaign trails after their first and what is likely their only face-off at Tuesday's debate. Harris takes her tour to swing state North Carolina while Trump heads to Arizona following the 67 million eyes on their debate. That's 15 million more viewers than the Trump and President Biden debate received. The Harris campaign is calling for a rematch while Trump is reserved on the matter. Americans are left with mixed takeaways from the first debate.
I think she had a really good debate.
I can't be happy about going and pushing either button.
The Trump supporters are Trump supporters. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is for us.
Campaigns are looking to get the swing state voters on their respective side. The first ballots of the general election are on their way to Alabama as state officials started mailing them out on Wednesday. Florida Senator Rick Scott is playing defense after controversial comments made by former President Trump during Tuesday night's debate.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not
migrants. Double down on the false claim that Haitian migrants are stealing and eating neighbors' pets in Springfield, Ohio. The city manager has come out disputing those claims. South Florida has a large Haitian population, and Senator Rick Scott was asked about why the president would repeat those false claims.
Here's what I can tell you, that in Florida we've got a great Haitian community. They're wonderful people. I put a lot of time into it with them.
Did not come out in disagreement with the former president, choosing to focus more on painting a positive outlook on this Florida demographic. There will be extra security on Capitol Hill this coming January 6th. That's when members of Congress meet to certify the electoral votes from the 2024 presidential election. It will be the first election certification since the U.S. Capitol attack of 2021. There will be more officers on the ground, broader security perimeters, and technology to detect potential material used in weapons of mass destruction. The FBI will also monitor for threats around the event in the months prior. The upcoming certification process has been designated as a national special security event by the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. A Marion County man is facing a life sentence after being convicted of sexual abuse of a child. 51-year-old Brian Patrick McCoy was found guilty on all 4 counts he was charged with. In addition to the life sentence, McCoy was sentenced to an additional 15 years on other charges involving child pornography. Back in 2019, McCoy was arrested after detectives received a tip he was in possession of inappropriate images of children. He was a registered sex offender at the time. Authorities in Lake City say their schools are safer after making 3 arrests this week for posting school shooting threats on social media. 17-year-old Christopher Smith Jr. and a 14-year-old were charged with second-degree felonies in Columbia County. The 13-year-old is being charged as a juvenile. The threats were made via social media to Columbia High School, Fort White High School, and Lake City Middle School. Sheriff Mark Hunter and State Attorney John Durrett both spoke at the press conference. They were disheartened that people thought making threats was a joke and want copycats to rethink their choices.
I hope that was a comfort to a lot of parents who were dropping their children off to see the additional presence and to know that the people who were there are going to be just as committed to protecting their kids as their own.
There is an ongoing investigation happening at Lake City Christian Academy based on a 4th shooting threat from yesterday morning. Officials say that this threat was not expressed over social media but is still being taken seriously. We are looking at the traffic on I-75 at this lunch hour. Showers and thunderstorms are happening across North Florida today as Francine moves north through the Mississippi Valley. You can see in that live look, the dark clouds have already formed. Let's get right over to UF forecaster Sienna Silvest tracking when the rain will begin to fall in north central Florida.
That's right. We are going to continue to see that rain as we go throughout the day as well as going through the week. But right now, let's take a look at the remnants of post-tropical formation Francine. As it hit Louisiana yesterday around 5 o'clock, it is currently moving through Mississippi as a tropical depression. As it continues to move northernward and inland, it will continue to break down. But looking at that satellite, as the eyewall right here is no longer together and the band right here shows that Florida was not shy of those effects of tropical depression Francine. Now, it caused that flash flood risk as those intense rain was also hitting Florida as well as Louisiana and Mississippi currently. Now, it has caused a slight risk for those in the Panhandle and only a marginal risk of about 5 to 10% of flash flood for those in the Gainesville area. Now, our storm tracker here, you can see this blue polygon right here indicating that flash flood warning for those right off the coast of Port St. Joe, as well as those red blinking polygons as well off the coast of Port St. Joe, indicating this tornado warnings as well. Now, along with those storms and tornado warnings and flash flood warnings, the entire western part of the Panhandle is also under our tornado watch. Now, this does not affect Gainesville and the surrounding areas, as that tornado risk is only limited to the Panhandle. Now, as we pass the halfway point in this year's hurricane season, we are expected to see more formations of tropical formations. We do have currently a 30% chance of formation off the eastern coast of the U.S., as well as a 20% chance of formation there off the coast of the Lesser Antilles. Now, as we bring it back home, let's take a look at our campus cam. Cloudy skies over UF. We're going to expect those cloudy conditions to be in the overcast range. Temperatures at 79 degrees across campus, and that wind coming from the east at around 9 miles an hour. Now, taking a look at our temperatures all across north central Florida, we are 79 degrees here in the Gainesville area, 79 also in St. Augustine, and then a little bit hotter there on the western coast, 82 in Cedar Key as well as in Crystal River. Now, taking a look at those current storm trackers, we are going to see those storm cells off the east and western coast, and this will continue to move inland as we go throughout the day. Now, zooming in more towards into Alachua County, we are going to see those storms, maybe even some thunderstorms pop up around to continue throughout the night.
Several wildfires are burning down homes and forcing thousands to evacuate in Southern California. The 3 major wildfires in the mountains of California accelerated after a triple-digit heat wave over the weekend. The bridge fire, line fire, and airport fire has already burned tens of thousands of acres. No deaths have been recorded, but at least a dozen people were treated for heat-related injuries.
They were telling us, you need to go, and you need to go now. The flames are close. So I still hesitated. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave my home. So I have.
More than 3 times the acreage burned during all of 2023. New milestones reached after SpaceX conducted the first ever private spacewalk this morning. After a couple hours of delay, SpaceX took a major step toward commercializing the future of spacewalks. Never before has a crew of private citizens completed a spacewalk. SpaceX plans to commercialize space travel and reduce costs and hopes to create space a livable and workable place. A new rule by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration aims to help women who are more at risk of breast cancer. The new rule, which is in effect this week, involves detecting the disease as early as possible. And as Mandy Gaither reports, experts hope the new rule will help women make more informed choices about their breast health.
It's the first line of defense against breast cancer. Mammograms can help detect the disease, but they're not foolproof, especially for those who have dense breast tissue.
It's pretty much a double whammy in terms of developing or missing a breast cancer, which is why we think it's very important to educate women about the fact that they have dense breast tissue.
Dr. Bhavika Patel with Mayo Clinic says cancer in dense breasts can be harder to detect through mammography, and a person with dense breast tissue is at higher risk of developing the disease.
We want to find cancers small and early.
Starting this week, a new rule by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is requiring mammography facilities to notify patients about the density of their breasts.
So 50% of women will be told that they have dense breast tissue. It is very normal, it's very common. If you get that report, then there'll be additional discussions with your provider in regard to potentially getting what we call supplemental imaging.
Those options include ultrasounds or MRIs to further aid in the detection of breast cancer. Patel says this new rule will make women more aware.
Bring up the discussion with your provider and ask questions, be empowered, know that you have dense breast tissue and ask them what the different options are.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A summer promotional deal from McDonald's stuck around longer than expected. Its $5 meal deal is staying until the end of the year. With less customer foot traffic around the nation, several chains are creating lower price meal deals. The food chain's president says they are committed to keeping their prices affordable. Now let's get over to WUFT anchor Kirsten Miselka with a look at what's coming up on First at 5 on Channel 5.
Thanks, Tanya. We're working on multiple stories for you today, including our crew out addressing the growing issue of bike safety in Gainesville. Our reporter team is looking into the grant that could help the city pour millions into safety initiatives for bike riders, plus the latest on the UF student charged with vandalizing a Jewish temple. And a decision looms on Florida's controversial redistricting plan just weeks before Election Day. We'll have all the details on this and more for you coming up on WUFT's First at 5.
Before we go, one last check on the weather.
We're going to have temperatures in the mid to low 90s the rest of the week, with those elevated rain chances staying around 40 to 60%. So as you're gearing up for this week's game day, make sure to grab that umbrella as you're leaving your house.
Thanks for joining us for WUFT Midday. We're back here tomorrow for another edition. We now join Sports Scene with Steve Russell live on WRUF Radio and right here on WRUF-TV Channel 6.